Hello there. I'm Bill Carroll, and this is Carrie Lynette Prince. And this is our inaugural, initial day date night podcast because it is in the smack in the middle of the day. But we will look at some of the things that we have learned in our years of dating, of other people and each other, and other things that float into our minds. Everything maybe from like Tubi movie and TV shows, um, uh,
True crime.
true crime, untrue reality TV, untrue bodies through various forms of whack plastic surgery, and maybe even music and culture. I don't know, whatever, and maybe some history as well.
Mhm.
So I have known this lovely young lady for 26, 20. Wait, hold on. This is 19. I mean, this is 2024.
24,
So
yeah.
99.
Mm,
So that's 25 ish?
yeah, about 25, 26
Between
years.
25 and 26 years, right.
Hmm.
And we initially met in the old Yahoo um, days. Yahoo fumbled the bag so hard, so many ways. I
Yeah.
I am not the world's smartest person, but I promise you, I could have run Yahoo better than whoever was running Yahoo ran Yahoo.
Hmm.
Um, Yahoo 360, dead. Yahoo Launchcast, dead. And Launchcast was one of my favorite sort of internet radio streaming things, and because it actually used human musicologists. They actually hired musicologists. They didn't just use a quote unquote algorithm. They actually hired musicologists to talk about and write about like the little reviews in there
Hmm.
and to figure out what kind of music you might like. So
Hmm.
yeah, Yahoo. If you want to get back on top, call a brother. But
But that's just like MySpace. When MySpace had the cool, like you could have your music playlist and your own little personal video and things like that, and have your top 10 friends or top 10 most people that you spoke to. I was a huge MySpace person, as you can tell, because I love MySpace. So,
yep. And MySpace was one of those things that, as the internet went from something that was literally a punchline in movies and TV shows
hmm.
to a normal part of Americans' lives on a day to day basis,
Hmm.
MySpace was a big bridge, right? Facebook and MySpace were the two
Hmm.
big bridges from, you know, calling to talk to your quote unquote nerd friend whenever you had to do something that involved the internet to everyone being
Yeah.
involved in the internet.
And I remember when, in particular, Facebook, you couldn't have Facebook if you were not a college student.
At one point, right,
Yeah,
when it
at
first
one
launched,
point,
yeah.
and that's how that tell you how long I've been on Facebook, because I had to initially use my college credentials just so I can create a Facebook
Right,
page.
right.
And now with the whole surge of like, even one of my friends was like, for example, LinkedIn is now starting to kind of gravitate away from like the job searches and things like that. And I was looking at, like, I scroll through several different things in the morning.
Indeed.
And one of my friends on LinkedIn brought up the fact that LinkedIn is starting to turn into like Facebook or a dating site, because he was getting, like, uh, nudes and are you
News.
lonely, and
Oh, okay.
hey big fella,
On LinkedIn.
yes, literally. And and another person responded, a female, she responded, she said, yeah, because I've been getting a lot of lonely army retired corporals, generals, and stuff. Hey, I'm looking for someone with talent and knowledge and intelligence. And she was like, it's ridiculous. This is supposed to be
Interesting.
a site specifically for networking
Mhm.
and relationships to our jobs and job
Personal,
culture.
right? Instead of personal, but business. Yeah.
And another person was like, yeah, that's why I canceled the LinkedIn subscription that I had.
Oh, he had premium. He had.
No, there was another female. She said she canceled it because she said it's not serving the purpose that it's
Mhm.
supposed to serve. um the reason why she joined LinkedIn in the first place.
Yeah.
And she was like, now I'm in between jobs and I need these services.
Right.
She was like, and it's not even coming through.
Yeah. So two things. I've never had anyone come on to me personally on LinkedIn. I mean, for anything other than job stuff or trying to
Mm-hmm.
sell me something. I've had lots of people try to sell me all kinds of things on, but they were these professional-ish things,
Mm-hmm.
including LinkedIn. Constantly in my DMs trying to say, "Hey, how about premium?" I remember the only time I actually had premium, they ran a thing for veterans around Veterans Day, and they said, "Oh, we noticed that you're a veteran. Try out LinkedIn Premium for a month."
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I tried it out for a month, and then I knew I wasn't keeping it. So what I always do, like a couple of days before, I set a reminder to cancel. So
Yes, because you do have to
you
set a
have to
reminder.
right because
No, you have to set a reminder because you always telling me, can you please remind me? But that's a whole nother subject within
that will be.
itself.
We'll get to that soon. I promise. But yes, I set a reminder for myself on that one and remembered to cancel it. And then
That
they
was prior to me, wasn't it?
no. Well, was it? No, no, it
It
wasn't.
had to be
No, it wasn't.
because normally you tell me to remind you these things.
No, I mean for things like that, I do. Like
You were a big boy this time,
for like the
yay!
athletic, and yes, the athletic, I'll be back. And LinkedIn, I was able to remember myself. It's always the things I don't really use that much where I have to ask for
Mm-hmm.
help. But the athletic is something I read on a regular basis, and especially around draft seasons, I always bring it back. I cancel, then I bring it back. So I always bring it back. I'll bring it back in time to get download Dane Brugler's The Beast, which is one of the best draft guides. It's a top three draft guide easily, and I've written or worked on draft guides before, so it really teaches you what it takes to put out a draft guide. But that's once again for another future show. For this
In
show,
5 months, I'll become a widow in so many words.
it's almost over, right? The draft is
Yeah.
literally just not even 2 months away now. It's wow, it's not. It's like 6.5 weeks. Is that right? No, let's see. Yeah, no, yeah, maybe 7 weeks.
So
Seven.
I sympathize with all you football widows out here in the world. Yeah, so I have to preoccupy myself and go visit family and do other things
Right.
while he's
Yoga
in football work.
retreats and
I ain't been to a yoga retreat.
you can work on, I don't know, reiki, energy work, tarot cards, whatever. You've got that. I'm giving you space. That's what I'm doing. I'm giving you
No, what it is that I support your passions, and therefore, because that's something you're passionate about,
space.
Mr.
Yeah,
Smiley.
I am. I am. It's one of the
I'm.
things.
wi-
Yeah. Save that for date night after dark. But yes, it is one of my passions. But back to what we were discussing. LinkedIn is something I must use literally every day in my job. So
Mhm.
I work between employers and potential employees. I go to a lot of job events
Mhm.
and I stalk in a professional and safe manner various employers that I think would be good opportunities for the job seekers, the pool of job seekers with whom I work.
Mhm.
And, like so many other medium sized to large non for profits, uh, we have been hit also with the influx of people in the migrant community. And so, one of the things we're all doing is trying to learn Spanish. I did at one point, I took 3 semesters in college, and then I was stationed, deployed, is really what it was, to Panama just for a few weeks. But I did go through like a little immersion program that the Army had itself to improve our Spanish enough to be able to, tell people where to go and things to
Mhm.
do when we were in Panama. But uh, we as a nation are dealing with it's a nation of immigrants with the exception of
Right.
the native people.
Mhm.
So I'm always surprised when I hear people complain about some parts of the quote unquote migrant crisis.
Mhm.
I talk to these people, usually through an interpreter until my Spanish improves, but literally on a daily basis to people who are part of this. And
Can y'all have like etiquette classes for them as well?
um, I don't know if I could specifically, but when we get to a certain point in our what we call our job club,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have a Spanish language version of it once my Spanish improves enough,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe Kevin, one of my coworkers who is
Mm-hmm.
bilingual, may help me to sort of set that up. We will certainly talk about how to present yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
etiquette could be sort of a part of that, but we would not have a whole etiquette class.
I
But
don't mean per se an etiquette class, but simple things like being aware of your surroundings, and if you bump into a person, even though you may not speak English, there's a way you can say I'm sorry,
sure,
or just more so be aware of your surroundings. Don't just walk in front of people
sure.
like they are invisible.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't know if that has anything to do with someone being a migrant. Some people are just not very
It's my history. I'm telling you, I've been in
okay.
stores with
Okay,
migrants that don't speak English,
sure.
and they've bumped into me or walked in front of me, and I've been like, "Excuse me," and they're like, "No English, no English." That's all they understand in English is no English.
Right, right. Well, two things. Once again, I think you're encountering some people who don't have great manners, but I don't think that being a migrant has anything to do with it. I think that now sometimes
I'm not accusing them. What I'm saying is, I'm not accusing them of not having manners, but in other cultures,
mhm,
certain things are considered as insults.
sure,
Like a thumbs up in certain cultures is basically saying "f you"
in some,
in
yeah,
some cultures.
sure.
So I
There are
think,
cultural differences, right?
right, and I think that due to the fact there are some cultural differences, there's business etiquette
Sure,
is a good thing to teach them.
right. Of course. I mean, that's something we do cover in our job club. So,
So Miami people, I'm not saying all immigrants are rude. They're not. I'm just saying that there should be some level of when people come to this country that should learn our business etiquette. Because if we go to their country, and I feel this way, if we go to another country, we should learn their etiquette for their country as well. Like if I'm gonna go to Paris, I want to know how I should behave going to Paris. I don't want to be known as a filthy American. So you laugh
right.
at me,
Well,
but I'm
yeah,
being
sure,
serious.
sure.
But I understand that not everybody takes that effort, but we all should take that effort. It shouldn't be just forced upon them.
Hmm.
Like for my birthday, I wanted to go to Trinidad. Before I was going to Trinidad, I was gonna research and learn what I can and cannot do without, because I don't want to insult the people of that country
Hmm.
or their culture.
Sure.
So I feel like anybody should do it if they're gonna embark on any culture. It doesn't matter where you're going.
Right. No, I don't think we're really disagreeing. I'm just saying that the things that I'm dealing with is very often people who are stressed out,
Mhm.
sleep deprived,
Mhm.
malnourished in some cases,
Mhm.
and they're despite that their first thought is how do I get a job, right?
Mhm.
To their credit, I have to this point I've never met a single person who wasn't looking for work, even ones that, like I said, knew not literally not a word of English, some of them. And one of the young ladies was a person who had 20 something odd years of banking experience, but she was
Wow.
literally looking to, scrub floors and toilets and things like that. Not because she, probably has a passion or loves doing that, because she knew that's something she could get without really being able to understand English.
Right.
So,
It's something she can do quickly, get into quickly.
right, right, right. But she has, I think, 22 years of banking experience. So, uh, what I will say is that, and we'll sort of put a capstone on this particular part of our discussion
Mhm.
in a moment, that people are people, right? And whether
Mhm.
they're from here, from there, from any other place,
Mhm.
some people do not always, as you said, not as the words are showing, but some people just don't have great manners, no matter where they're from or what they knew or don't know about the language. But the people I've dealt with have all been people who have been sometimes, like I said, a little shy, maybe,
Mhm.
and partially, because they're in a place where they don't know anybody and they don't speak the language. But none of them have been discourteous. None of them have been rude. But maybe it's because they see me as an authority figure. So maybe it's a different situation for me. But what I will say is that it is difficult for someone who's never been surrounded by nothing that you recognize. You're in a place where the food is different, the weather is radically different. You cannot speak the language.
Yeah.
You don't know where anything is or how to get any place.
Mm-hmm.
And someone says, here's a camp where, say you're from Venezuela. Well, the person next to you is from Guatemala. The person over here is from Honduras. The person over there is from El Salvador. The person over there. So even though we kind of lump them all together,
Mm-hmm.
with very few exceptions, none of they can they can usually communicate because they usually are all Spanish speakers,
Mm-hmm.
but with sometimes difference in dialect and occasionally a word that means this and this dialect of Spanish means something different, but
Mm-hmm.
generally they can communicate. That's the one thing that they can do with most of the other people that are around them there,
Mm-hmm.
but all of them are under this tremendous stress
Mm-hmm.
of being dislocated and very often from their own families. They some of them have come singly, some have come with family, but
Mm-hmm.
I love people throw around terms like illegal. Well, if someone's an asylum seeker, by by the very definition, an asylum seeker is not an illegal alien.
Right.
Now, they have to have essentially their day in court, and if they're found that is not a legitimate asylum case, then they are to leave, and if they don't, at that point, that person is here illegally. But until they have had their day in court, none of them are here illegally, which I hear
Right.
people throw around.
And I hate that word because if you think about it, as far as it's concerned, our ancestors, everybody ancestor is not from here. If you're not Native American,
Sure.
which I hate that term, if you're not
Indigenous,
if
right.
you're not an indigenous person,
Right.
then you're here illegally, technically.
Well,
So that is a horrible term to refer to somebody that wants a better life. And we have to be honest. America is known all over the world as the land
of
of
opportunity.
opportunity.
Right, yeah.
So how can you get mad that a person just spent 10 days on a raft to come here because it's better opportunity
Sure.
when they make it 12 cents an hour
Sure.
sewing shoes in a factory that has no ventilation,
Right.
water.
Sure.
They have to drink the water that they wash their clothes in and things like that. When they can come here and make $9 an hour versus 12 cents an hour, I'm gonna go there.
Right. Well, the big thing is that, like I said, if you're an asylum seeker, you can't just be coming for professional reasons. They have to have some other reason, proving that they
Mm-hmm.
are being persecuted or their lives are in danger or whatever. Like in the case of many increasing number of parts of like Central, South, and even some parts of East Africa,
Mm-hmm.
with the Boko Haram and some of the things that are
Mm-hmm.
happening. If you are not a Muslim, in some places you are
Mm-hmm.
unsafe. And obviously, Uganda, a year and a half or so ago, I believe, there was legislation passed that if you were bisexual, gay, trans, etc., that you were literally criminalized. So
Right.
at that point, some of those people were leaving to try to come to Europe, United States, whatever, because their lives were in danger.
Right.
And then even in some places, though we still kind of chuckle at it, but people are accused of witchcraft in some places, and their lives are in danger. We may
I'll be dead.
right. We may chuckle at it, but
I'm not chuckling at it, but
I know what you mean.
yeah.
But in parts of the developing world, your life is then at that point in danger. America had literally zero, right? Not a single law regarding immigration until 1888, and it was literally on its face racist because it's literally called the Asian Exclusionary Act.
Right.
So it was only happened because these single Asian men who were coming to work in the West on the railroads and things like that were seen as a quote unquote the yellow peril, this threat they were to white womanhood or whatever, and some of that's even touched on in the TV show Warrior,
which is one of my favorite shows, as you know.
I know you enjoy it. It's a very well done show, and I'm glad they touch on some of the actual historical aspects. But America had literally an open door until people began to take notice of these particular Asian men, and because the companies didn't want the families to come, they just wanted the men to come by themselves, so that they
Mm-hmm.
created the problem. Many of these
Mm-hmm.
men were married with families, but they said, no, we just want these able-bodied workers to come and, in many cases, do some of the most dangerous work, like
Right.
handling explosives, nitroglycerin,
Mm-hmm.
dynamite, etc., because they were seen as expendable.
Right.
And then eventually some of them set down roots here and did start bringing their families over later. But America has obviously had structural racism woven into it. And as much as I love this country, it's because I love this country, in fact, that I'm critical, right? The same way that I love my daughter and I'm critical of some of the things that she does or doesn't do, it is specifically because I care so much. I'm so invested in her
Mm-hmm.
success. Same thing with this country. I'm so invested in America's success that I'm trying to demand that it do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in fact, those people who just sort of blindly, jingoistically wave the flag and say this is the greatest country in the world, that's fine, but we can still be better. We can
Right.
be better in terms of the infant mortality rate. Like, if you're pro life, what are you doing to fix our infant mortality rate,
Mm-hmm.
which is particularly amongst women of color, particularly black women,
Yeah.
is many times higher than the developed world's. I mean, in the developed world, in Western Europe, in
Yeah.
America, infant mortality should. I'm not saying it should not exist. It should happen. I mean, it's not
It's
completely.
gonna
It's not
happen.
completely unavoidable.
Right.
But the numbers, particularly the numbers with black women in our country, is shockingly high.
Mm-hmm.
Two, three, four, five times the number
Mm-hmm.
that you're seeing amongst non-whites throughout the developed world, Canada, England, France, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to be truly pro-life, let's do it for
Correctly.
life and for life.
Yeah.
It doesn't end once you're born.
Yeah.
We need to say that if we truly value life, then we have to value the lives of women,
Mm-hmm.
and that means making sure that women have access to high quality medical care, especially pregnant women. We have pregnant women who don't have access to free and high quality care.
Yeah.
If you can afford it, you can get high quality care in America,
Yeah.
but not every woman can afford it. And so, if we're truly pro life, that means we have to make sure that. I know people rail against the quote unquote free clinics, and some of it is because some people are quote unquote, pro life. But these free clinics do way more than
They definitely do.
abortion is simply a small portion of what most of them do, and some of them don't even have abortion care. Some of them, only the ones that
Mm-hmm.
have an actual, medical doctor on staff can even offer that. Many of
Mm-hmm.
them have a nurse practitioner, and some of them literally just have a
Mm-hmm.
public health nurse who is not even a nurse practitioner. I say not
Mm-hmm.
even. I mean, she's still incredibly important.
Right.
But public health nurses, and shout out to my cousin Juanita, who's one of my favorite cousins, who was a public health nurse in Washington D.C. for 35, some very long amount of time, from the time I was a child to deep into my adulthood. I know that much.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, these people were the backbone of our medical care in our poorer communities, in our
Mm-hmm.
underprivileged and underserved communities. And then
Mm-hmm.
we lost a huge number of them during the Reagan administration, which people don't talk about. If you're truly pro life, you should have been demanding that during the Reagan administration, when all these free clinics were being shut down, well, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's we're gonna keep it a buck 50 is Ronald Reagan. So because it's Ronald Reagan, a lot of these people were not going against him because it's the whole Donald Trump effect. It's Ronald Reagan. He's our president. Yay. He's a movie actor. Let's keep it 150%. A movie actor, as we know from the histories of presidents, movie actors and TV personalities cannot run a proper country. Men that are business driven technically are not good from history of running the country because they're thinking about the bottom dollar. If you are someone that is gonna be part of public service, yeah, have a business mindset, but include humanity into it. And a lot of these people that are in government go into it for the wrong reasons or going into it for their own personal right wing or left wing views. And no, that doesn't always. You have to change your thinking to think of about other people. We can talk for hours about that,
Sure,
and you know
sure.
my personal
I do.
opinion about a lot of these politicians
Well,
out here.
Well, what's changed is in the old days, you would move to the left or right during the time you're running for the primary, right, to secure your base. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it came time to run for the general election, you would move towards the middle. And then when you were governing, you'd move towards the middle. We could say that about Eisenhower. We can say that
Yeah.
about Kennedy. A
Yeah.
long list of people. Kennedy was actually um, fairly socially conservative. It took him a long time to get engaged on civil rights. His younger brother, Robert
Mm-hmm.
Francis Kennedy, and a few others tried to push him,
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Shriver and some others tried to push him to be more engaged. And he would say
Mm-hmm.
things like, those Paul bastards and things like that. But he while he was slightly sympathetic, he wasn't engaged in the civil
Right.
rights movement. And it
Right.
took a long time for him to even sort of get off the bench when it came to that. But he was initially very hawkish in terms of things
Mm-hmm.
like his policy on the Soviet Union and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other things. Obviously, a former naval, in fact, not just a naval officer, but a
Mm-hmm.
war hero, right? We all know PT 109. He won the
Mm-hmm.
Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross. But and Profiles in Courage is a tremendous piece of writing. In fact, that was his original goal, was to be a journalist. And
Mm-hmm.
then when his older brother Joe Jr. died,
Mm-hmm.
he had to, he's the one that
Shift.
he got pushed into politics. But
Yeah.
there's great books. One of my favorites is Dark Side of Camelot by Seymour Hersh, which I urge anyone who really is deep into the Kennedy family to read. But back to what you're talking about. That was always the thing, right? You go left or right throughout your
Mm-hmm.
primary run, then you come back towards the middle later, and now that's sort of
Mm-hmm.
gone. People
Mm-hmm.
go left or right or whatever, and they kind of stay there.
Right.
And while I am pretty wildly left wing on most things myself, though I'm, a
Mm-hmm.
little more moderate on defense as a, veteran. I sort of see the value of being
Mm-hmm.
smart on defense, not always throwing all the money in the world at it, but making
Mm-hmm.
sure that we are on the cutting edge of military technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should definitely have a smart force, maybe not the largest force. I think we probably need to still continue to invest in things that project our power forward, and I'll do a military strategy talk later. But the point I'm really trying to make is when people say we're more divided than ever, well, no, we had a whole civil war, so no, we're not
Right.
more divided than ever.
Right. Right.
The people of the 1860s would be looking at you very funny, and even the people of the 1960s would be looking at you very funny when we had riots in the streets. 4 young white college students were shot to death by the National Guard in Kent State.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there. It's
No.
not there, people. No, we're not more divided than ever. People look back with rose-colored glasses. I was born in the 60s. When I was a young child, I lived on a college campus, University of North Carolina, and I saw marches in the early 70s when I was on my way to preschool and on my way to kindergarten. There would be marches. The war, though it was winding down, Vietnam War was still going. And
Mm-hmm.
so I saw that. I saw people protesting Angela Davis and protesting, some of the Black Panther trials that were ongoing, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, Patty Hearst, right? I remember the Patty Hearst trial.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we more divided than ever? Frankly, no. Uh, we've
Mm-hmm.
come. I've watched, I've seen, and I studied, and yes, things are not where they should be, but things are way better than they would have been. And we did have, while it was mostly symbolic, we had a black president,
Mm, yeah.
and and obviously I have the advantage slash disadvantage of having known the man since the late 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to my former roommate William David Burns, who was a staff member both when he was a state senator on the South Shore here in Chicago, and later worked on his initial campaign when he ran
Mm-hmm.
for the first congressional district, the
Mm-hmm.
historic first congressional that Oscar DePriest and Harold Washington and others have
Mm-hmm.
held when he ran for Congress in 2000, and then
Harold Washington.
yes,
He
yes,
was the greatest Chicago mayor ever.
uh,
That man was phenomenal.
we will never know what he would have or could have done. He sadly, of course, died young and died
Yeah.
in office.
Yeah.
But what I will say is about our current American political scene. People are, yes, people are very, very polarized. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the 1960s or the 1860s, but
Right.
we are very polarized. What has changed? One is, we talked about earlier, social media.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a way to talk to all of our people and both our friends and our quote unquote enemies, though I don't
Right.
think of these people as enemies, I think, or even adversaries. I just feel like they got locked into a silo or echo chamber where they're only hearing this. And I try to listen to both sides. I don't agree with a lot what I hear from the other side, but at least I try to make sure I hear it So I've never
Mm-hmm.
blocked anybody on any social media. I may have occasionally muted some people. Shout out to Clay Travis, but 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 I never block. I never blocked anybody. I may have muted some people. I never blocked anybody. I still want to sort of see what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and see what they're talking about. And I see for people that always talk about, always talk tough, and I don't mind firearms. In fact, part of why I was in the military is I like blowing things up and shooting things. But to hear the way these people talk about, oh, my blah 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 is how I keep my family safe, and if the
Mm-hmm.
government does this, the government does that. Well, frankly, that's really unrealistic. And while
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could literally tell you that with a light armored brigade, I could take down a city of probably 100,000 people, even if they all were armed with, semi-automatic rifles. Partially because of communication and training. Like, I know you go down the range every once in a while, and you think you're Billy, you're Rambo or what have you, or somebody called some of them Hambo or Spambo, um,
That's the pig.
or the little joke about the gravy seals, but yeah, you go down a couple times a month, or even hey, a couple of times a week, even. That's so different from what an actual military unit has, both in terms of not just training but communication,
Mm-hmm.
knowing where hundreds of other people who've trained with you are constantly, right? The level of communication you have in the
Mm-hmm.
military is just so different from what even you and your tough-minded friends who are maybe even armed to the teeth would
Mm-hmm.
have. So 100,000 of you versus an armored, even a light armored brigade. Give us
Mm-hmm.
just a few Bradleys, right? A few Bradley fighting vehicles,
Uh-huh.
some Mark 19 grenade launchers. Okay, this was not what I
You
intended to
really sat
talk
up
about.
here and thought about this, didn't you?
I was like, no, this is coming off the top of the dome, but
But it's the way you describe it is like you actually set up and you just thought about this. Like, what if I want to take over a city?
I
This is what I will do.
I have been trained to think strategically and to think what tactical advantages you have. So I don't need to plan these things. They drilled that into me. Shout out once again to the officers training program at Norfolk State University, where it's part of the Spartan
You know,
Battalion,
I like when you say Norfolk.
because that's how you're supposed to say it. But that's with another show. We'll talk about accents because you have your own special twang. But
I can't help it. I'm country.
I love it. But okay, so let's get back to relationship stuff because I don't know how we got here. But she and I have known each other for quite some time, and we're not in relationships with each other, but in relationships with others. And we learned
Mm-hmm.
some things that I think have helped us. And while we each occasionally do or say things that drive the other person slightly insane, for the most part, we have found common ground in most places. We've been very lucky, I think. It's a little bit of both because I've got some picadillos also, and you reminded me of one of them earlier today.
What was it?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But but the good news is that, as you can see, we have fun and we laugh. And I think that if you can end your day laughing together, it helps you to start your day loving together the next day. The thing that I've learned in the relationships that I had that led up to meeting Carrie, one is that I cannot control another person, no matter,
Especially this girl.
or anybody really. I mean, even my own daughter. I mean, once they get to a certain point in life, men who want to control women are are going to die a long, painful, frustrating death. Um,
Not only that,
yes, there's not. There's more. Not only that. Dot dot dot.
they are so stuck in their ways that they won't ever be open to someone truly loving them for them. Cause it gets suffocating when you with somebody that always wanna, that is male or female. When you with somebody that always wanna, why are you doing this? Where you going? Who you with? Da, 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 da. Going through your phone, going through your social media, all that. Look, I'm about to speak about myself in the third person. Carrie ain't got time for that. Carrie got other stuff to worry about. She got other stuff to worry about.
Hmm.
So because she got other stuff to worry about, I'm not about to be. I can be a detective. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can be a detective, but at the same time, it's when you're sloppy. That's the only way that Carrie turns into a detective. If you leave the information up and I go to use the computer and the information is staring me in my face, then it's meant for me to read and see. That's not me going to look for it.
Right, right.
That's you being. That's anybody. If you do stuff, that's being sloppy. If you gonna cheat, be smart about it. Be
So
smart about
take
it.
take
Be
careful
smart
notes.
about it.
Take careful notes.
Which means that you gotta have so in our
In our relationships,
we have certain things that we are as far as is concerned.
right?
He is free to do what he want to do. I'm free to do what I want to do. But we have an understanding with each other that we will discuss it with each other.
Yep.
And then at the same time, we both know when he leaves, because he goes off to combines and things related to his passion for football, and I'm here. For all he know, I could be sitting up here running orgies through the house. We gonna keep it up $150. I go spend the night at my mama's house. He could be here, have 3, 5, 6 strippers in here getting it in. I told him it's only limit of 2.
Right, right. We do have a strict limit of 2. 2 strippers only.
2 strippers only.
Max of 2 strippers. Right.
Max. That's it. But that's the joke between us. But basically, he could go out. You know, he prime example. He just where did you just come back from?
Senior Bowl.
He just came back from the Senior Bowl. He was gone a week. I was going through a thing. Thank God. Shout out to my bestie Tiffany. But he could have been down there canoodling, doing whatever he doing. He is women down there that is into football too. So you know that's his passion. So if he finds somebody that equally is, I have a slight passion for it, but I'm more NFL than college, and you know he can run into somebody that equally match my fire and my all this stuff, but she's more passionate about football than I am. I would expect for him to call me and say, "Hey," and we would discuss it.
We would discuss it. Yeah.
And depending on how I feel, would determine what my answer will be. Now, the thing is, he could decide to honor it or not honor it. But in the end, we discussed it.
We discussed. And here's what, once again, both of us had long-term relationships in the past,
and I dated a bunch of butt heads. I do like butt head men. Bill is like, he's Mr. Awesome.
I do what I can, but I am not perfect. I'm far from it.
No, he's not.
I am far from it.
No,
I've made many mistakes, and I will probably continue to make mistakes, but I try to learn from the mistakes I've made, so that I can earn more good time with Carrie Lynette Prince.
You said more good with that.
Because I like it. I like the way it sounds. So, if I were to sit down to the me of 25 years ago, I would sort of try to explain some of the things that were going to happen. And I probably wouldn't believe some of them, right? My life took turns that I could not have anticipated. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd be in a very different place in my career, in my life, and mm-hmm. I've had to, make some different turns and survive. And some of it's been great, and some of it's been not so great. But I'm now in a good place, in a good person. I mean, with a good person. So
I know what you mean.
But either way, it has largely been an adventure, and I wouldn't trade it. Like getting here was worth all of it. But yeah, I definitely were some tough times in there, and like I said, if I were able to talk back to that younger me, I would definitely say, take more chances. I would tell myself to take more chances.
I can't tell myself that
because
I did whatever
You should give yourself some different advice to that. But yeah.
Well, one of the advice I would give myself is when you asked me out years ago, and if I wanted to go, meet you for a date, I would have definitely took that invitation because who's to say where we would be?
Who's to
But
say?
we're here now,
We're here now.
so that's as you and I talk quite often. I'm a person with I don't live with regrets. I don't regret anything that I do or did. It for the most part because it made me who I am,
Mm.
and I am always gonna be unapologetically myself. You can like it or not. I don't. I can get too
Yes.
about it.
Right.
And at the same time, when we were having the conversation of the difference in me and a lot of the females that are around me. I'm someone that if we decide we going out, I'm gonna go to the closet and the first thing I grab is what I'm wearing, and we going. I'm not about to change 3 4 times unless you tell me that looks bad on me. But I look pretty good in anything I wear for the most part.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And so, um, and that's really it. The thing, what is one of the things that you feel like I taught you or brought to our relationship that improved you as a person?
There's two things that jumped to mind right away. One was the being freed up, right? I I was always a little constrained in all the relationships I've been in up to this point to be a certain version of myself, a little more controlled, a little more narrowly focused, and not able to maybe express myself as fully as I have with you. And I'm not as afraid to share all of the aspects of myself with you. All of the aspects, including ones that I frankly would have been either maybe not ashamed, but I would have been hesitant or a little bit afraid almost to express some of those things, and I've now become much less afraid or not, yeah, well, shy or whatever. Pick a term. I feel more open. That's the first thing, and the second thing I think is you are so amazingly supportive, and you put me first in a way that nobody other than my mother probably, but other than my mother, no one else is quite, my parents obviously have that going for them, but no one else other than people who literally created me probably put me first as much as you do, and that's enormous, and it makes me feel, it empowers me, and I have so much more confidence, and I feel
You
like,
should put a there. Oops, sorry.
so it, no, you don't have to apologize. So I am empowered and filled with a level of confidence I had never had before in my life. So I have certainly done some things in life, accomplished certain things in life,
Which
but
makes you amazing. I love your story. You are so amazing, and I love that brain. Okay, back to what you were saying.
but I've never had anyone quite appreciate me the way you have, and so I think it's all of that that has helped me to see myself the way you see me, and then to be empowered and to go out into the world and to feel like I can do anything. And you're the first person.
Because you can, and you do, and you are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been the greatest gift you could ever give me,
Mm.
and I appreciate you every day for it.
Mm. Oh, that warms my heart. I just want, for me personally, I'm like I've said this before, and I've said this to many of my friends. I'm not looking for someone that I can control or someone that I can run over. I'm looking for a partner,
Mm.
and in you, I have a partner, and that's what's most important for me. And at the same time, my shout out to my mom. My mom is awesome. I feel
Agreed.
my everybody should have a mother like mine. My mom support all of us, from my father to my brother to his kids, to both my brothers and his kids, my sister, her kids. She is there. Everybody in her family. My mom is a loyal, unconditional. She loves people unconditionally.
Mm.
And when you're raised by someone like that, you take on their characteristics. So a lot of that I owe to my mom. My mom and my dad, I never really saw them fight.
Hmm.
If they fought,
Yeah.
it was never like
Right.
loud or they waking us up out our sleep and things like that. They, any relationship, even us, we've had disagreements,
Sure.
but my parents are a united front
Yep.
at all times.
Yep.
Even when they disagree with each other, they are a united front. So anyone I'm gonna be with, seriously, we're gonna be a united front. And part of being a united front is supporting the other person. That's one. Two, what type of person would I be if I deny you your true passions that you are passionate about? I complain about the football and stuff like that, and me being a widow, and I need attention. I want attention. I do all that. But in the end, when he tells me, "Look, I really need to go to the combine, or I gotta go to the East West Shrine game, or I gotta go to the Senior Bowl," what do I tell you?
Be safe.
Be safe. Bye.
Yeah. Yes.
If you meet anybody cool, tell me about them.
I definitely met some people cool.
Yeah, he met Jerry Rice. I was just like, just to say the least. But I want somebody to support my passions. I want somebody to encourage me when I'm down. I need those things. I am someone that suffers from mental health, just to be full disclosure. I am bipolar. And this is easier for me to talk about it with therapy and the help of this man here. I have major depression and major anxiety. The people in my life outside, a lot of them, when they find out about my diagnosis, they're quite shocked. They like, not you, because I am someone that I I talk myself, talk to myself constantly. Get up, do this. You can't do this. Ain't no punk in you. G's don't cry. You a gangster.
Yes. Yes. I've heard her
I,
sometimes.
I literally have to hype I'm my own personal hype man every single morning, but every single morning what people don't see, it's a struggle for me to get up and actually move around. There are days that I climb out. He'll walk in the room and he'd be like, "You look sad." And I'll be like, "I don't know what's wrong with me." And I literally don't, but I'm just sad. And he'll come and he'll talk to me and I'll cry a little bit and he'll wipe my tears away. And then he'll be like, "It's okay. You got this. You're amazing." And I'm not taken away from anybody I ever dated in the past, even married. I've been married twice. Lord have mercy. Um, but this is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. This man loves me so much, and he talk about me putting him first. He puts me first in a lot of things. I've I made the joke. What did I make the joke? Oh, being John Malkovich, and I told him that's the look. The way he looks at me sometimes is at the end of John Malkovich when the guy got stuck in the body and he transfers to the daughter and he can't communicate with her. The woman that had the baby that he was in love with, like, "Oh my God, she's amazing. She's beautiful. She's this, she's that." She's with his ex-wife. Yeah, if y'all check out that movie, it's a really interesting movie. But um, the way the look in as she was staring at the mother is the way he looks at me. That unconditional, "I love you so much. You're amazing. You're awesome. You're incredible." That's how he makes me feel when people ask me, "How do he make you feel?" And it's not saying it's creepy. It's not. It's not. It's not
Tiny
creepy.
bit creepy.
It's not creepy. It's not creepy. But it's he adores me. That's the best way. and we went to, shout out to my therapist. She said, because I took him to one of my um, sessions, because I I sometimes get blinded in my own midst of my own struggles, that sometimes I feel I may disregard his needs. So I took him, so she could be the person that, if I couldn't get it across, she was the person that was able to explain a different way, and versus me getting frustrated and say, no, what, forget it. So, she helped me explain that to him. But when we got done in our next session, she was like, Carrie, that man really, 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 really loves you. And it ain't just it's not that he just loves you, he in love with you. So I've had people say they were in love with me, but I've never had nobody that actually, I felt that. I felt like no matter what, they got my back. They got me. Some things transpired, and he came to me and told me, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And I told him, what I tell you?
You said you never doubted for 1 second.
I'm not worried about it. I know you do. I didn't go. I told him, I said, when you see me start buying a bunch of food, then that tells you I'm worried.
Yeah.
Because I have this ninth, as they say, I have the depression thinking, that when there's loss of income, I got to stock up for food,
sure,
and things like that. They said that's a 1920s syndrome,
right.
and that's a whole nother discussion within them itself.
Well, I'll say this, and this has happened, I think, to probably almost anyone who's over a certain age. We've all at some point lost a job, and I lost a quote unquote good job, a job I liked, a job I was good at, and there's that. This is why I love what I do now, because I help people to get back to work. There's that sense of dislocation. You have all these skills and all these connections you've built up, and all of a sudden you're cut off from this thing you're very good at, and these connections you've made, and these skills you've acquired. And there's that moment of like, what do I do? And her unflinching, unfailing support and confidence was part of what gave me the confidence. And I'm not gonna brag, but I do interview well, and so I know if I can get to the point where I get into the room, I'm likely to get a job offer. And it's part of why I'm good at what I do now, is I'm helping people to understand how to do that, how to go into the room and know you're going to come out of that room with a job offer. And it's part of what excites me, right? Because it wasn't that long ago that I was the person going to the job fairs. It wasn't that long ago that I was the person all over LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter and Indeed and even Monster, Career, Snag a Job, name them, right? So what I will say, and if you are a person in the, Chicagoland area or western suburbs, swing by PLCCA on 411 Madison and ask for employment and training services, and I will help you. But the most important thing that came out of that was how unshakable her confidence in me was, and it made me feel like, yes, I'm going to do this, and I did. It didn't take me long, and I found something that also excites me and that I also feel I'm going to be great at. So having somebody in your corner who believes in you as much or more than you believe in yourself supercharges all the things you're trying to accomplish.
But not only that, Mama did too, because Mama told me, she was like, Carrie, it's hard when people lose their job. Bill's a great guy. Don't give up on him. Don't. And I said, Mama, I'm not even worried about it. She said, good. Just just be there for him, and if y'all need anything, let me know. I got y'all.
She's so sweet.
Your mom's the same way too.
We're both extremely blessed. My father has gone to his great reward,
and I'm so sad I never got to.
I'm very sorry. He would have really, really been a big fan of yours as well. The closest thing to meeting him is meeting me. I will say that much. I am not what my father was, and I that's still what I'm striving. I'm striving to get to be the quality of man that my father was.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you very much. You're
you are
very kind. My father was one of those people that people come up to you in my hometown and say, "Oh, I knew your father, and he did this for me."
But that's how it is with a lot of people that I meet that know you. Case in point, when you was getting off your football talk, They would sit up there. Oh, he's you such a lucky lady.
Oh Lord. Okay, so this is not what our show is going to be about. This is not going to turn into people talking about me. I am.
Excuse me.
It's okay. You okay?
I was laughing and I got a little caught.
A little caught up in it, but I I'm still but a pale reflection of what my father was. But he is always there in front of me to give me something to strive for because I truly do believe this that the impact that he had on people's lives gave his life such great value, and I believe that if I can have that same kind of impact on the lives of people, that'll give my life great value. My father was an educator and an inspiration for generations. And he taught at Norfolk State and University of North Carolina also when he was in his PhD program. Amongst my father's students was Jim Lampley. If you're a sports person, you know who that is. But
his parents are very fascinating people. One of our conversations we're gonna have is about our parents
at some point.
So we're gonna discuss things like what are the similarities with our parents versus
and how we're different also,
and how they're different, and what are the things that makes us most in our eyes as far as our parents' relationship were like.
Yep.
And yeah, you know.
So before we close out, first of all, I do want to say that this has been a fun and exciting experience. The entire ride with Carrie.
Was I too goofy?
No, you're exactly the right amount of goofy. We it's been quite a ride, and we'll do this again maybe once a week, depending on how things shake out. But it has been. I've learned so much about myself through this time I've spent with her because she's a very wise woman. Like Carrie is very wise.
Am I?
You see people very clearly. Very. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, I told him, and I quote, which is true. I know women.
Oof.
I know women, and if I tell you something, men, I'm telling y'all, if I tell a man about a woman, I know what I'm talking about.
She does not miss.
I do not lie. Crazy. I do not miss. I can have one conversation. I can tell you what type of woman that woman is. I'm very insightful on women because I'm a woman. But then at the same time, I'm always accused of thinking like a man. And there's nothing wrong with thinking like a man because to me, men are very logical. And I'd rather be logical than illogical. I know as a woman that sometimes I'm illogical. And I get upset over illogical things and I have to come back and apologize to him. Because sometimes he say stuff to me and I'll be like, what do you mean?
So.
Apologize.
So. The good news is that her insights have been extremely accurate and helpful. And we will have to have like a Carrie's Corner where you, where at some point you tell us about your various insights into women and how you've learned all the nooks and the crannies.
They may cancel me.
You know what? Then we'll go down in a blaze of glory, glorious blaze. But like I said, as we wind up, I do truly believe that the amongst the gifts you've given me is just the insight you have into the human condition and seeing yourself and seeing other people so clearly, and like I said, you're so loyal, like so fiercely, unbelievably loyal. Once again, I aspire to someday get to the level that you are in terms of that because I've never known anyone as loyal as you before. It is amazing to me. I think next week I do want to touch on. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. Do you want to move more towards the parent thing, towards the things we've learned about past relationships? What do you want to do next time?
It doesn't matter. But before we go, I have to tell you what I got from you.
Please do.
Prior to this man, I was a pessimist. I always thought the worst of any situation. If you told me I might not get the job, I'm not getting the job. This man has taught me to think more positively. And also, I'm able to get up without an alarm clock now.
I'll chalk that up as a win.
That is a win in the bill. Bill's Corner, because I used to not be a morning person. This man has helped me become a morning person. I'm getting up in the morning like, good morning. Hey, you want to cook? You want to make? Excuse me. You want to make breakfast? I did that too high. That's what that was. But yeah, this man has taught me that we don't have to be negative all the time. And that's where I'm gonna end that at.
Yes. Well, we'll do this again. We haven't quite decided what the next topic will be, but hey, I'll post this on my YouTube, and I'll post this I don't know, maybe also on Twitter/X, and let us know.
If you got ideas,
if you have ideas, we're open. We're very open. We are open-minded. So thank you once again.
Sorry.
Oh, have mercy. Yes, sorry. Cannot take you anyplace. But thank you once again on behalf of William Stewart Carroll and Carrie Lynette Prince. This was our daytime date night podcast. And we will hopefully see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.